good guy, Sam. He really is. Nice interview with Sir Action Slacks. Talking of good guys, we've got 3 more good guys joining me on the panel, a refreshed panel as we now join with Nahaz coming back to us. How you doing?
Doing great. First day of the event, and I think this crowd's already registered on the Richter scale.
Yeah, I think there might have been some sort of disturbance in the force today, thanks to our crowd. Black and Winter are back. Winter, time to step up on the predictions, buddy. It's not been a good day.
I'm trying, dude. Come on. I'm trying.
Right, because you were 2-0 and now you're 2-2. And Black's catching up. He's got 2 as well now, out of 4, admittedly, but still.
I'm planning to go positive today.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Not halfway through that last game, you weren't. I thought you were going to change your underwear.
I'm just saying, I'm a big part of Alliance's victory. I gave them mental support.
You're now claiming victory for Alliance? Unbelievable. I can't even believe it. OK, before we get into it too deeply, we do, of course, need 2 teams. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our 2 teams to the stage.
One of the most decorated organizations in Dota 2 history, Titans of the Western scene. Thanks to the drafting prowess of Captain PPD, they finished in the top 3 of both majors. But now, they've come face to face with the task of upholding their legendary status, primed and ready to fight for their legacy.
Welcome on stage, Evil Geniuses!
A glimpse into the future, this dynamic lineup unites the old guard of FY and DDC with a trio of breakthrough Chinese talents. Boasting some of the would-be stars of tomorrow, they play a cunning game of strategy and reap the rewards of greedy drafts. This is a team with a bright future.
Welcome on stage, Vici Gaming Reborn!
So players are on the stage, we'll let them get settled, and that gives us an opportunity to talk about the 2 teams. We'll start with Evil Geniuses and take you through the lineup. And Alan, let's talk about the current reigning international champions, because they are a shadow of their former self right now.
This is a team that has 5 straight top 3 finishes in $3 million plus tournaments. If you go back to DAC, the last 2 TIs and the 2 majors, these are the only 3 players that can say that. But yeah, their recent results have absolutely been shaky. Just haven't been able to find those combinations like they have in the past.
Why is that, Black? What do you think, since they changed players?
It might be, obviously they've played with AOI before, and with bo1 too. Like, the whole NA scene is very close to each other. Maybe just the chemistry didn't click yet. Maybe they haven't found the right rhythm. I'm not sure why. They have all the talent in the world. I just don't know why it doesn't click.
The team dynamic, though, don't you think it's better if they swap back to their old roles? AOE on support and Fear on the carry?
Well, definitely, but Fear on Twitter already said, please don't talk about this, guys. AOI is the better carry for the team right now.
It's not about who is better, but what's better for the team.
Yeah, so I mean, I assume he meant that. I hope he meant that.
But what about Boba, guys? That to me is the big question mark, right?
Right.
He's the coach of the team in the last TI.
Right.
He's joined the team, and they just haven't. Fear and Boba have not had the same kind of synergy that we saw out of Fear and Universe. And in this meta right now, that 3-4 synergy is just so absolutely huge. Can determine the game.
I agree completely. It might be because they haven't been playing together for a very, very long time. I think the last time they played together was it TI2 EG? It was very, very, very long back in time. So maybe they need some time to get everything going again.
But I wanted to ask you in particular, because you played with Sam.
Right.
And I think personally, I think Sam's one of the top 5 brightest people in Dota right now.
Right.
If you talk to this guy about drafts, you watch replays with him, the points that he makes is amazing. Has a reputation, though, for being a little bit of an emotional player.
Right.
What does he need to do to rein that in and play at an elite level?
Like especially I have heard a lot of times, if Boba had the mentality of Universe, he right now would be the best offlaner in the whole world. I can only confirm that. I played with him in Team Tinker and Mouse Sports. He can be super good. He can be the best player in the whole game, and then something can click. Next game, he will be really scared of losing suddenly. It's just all in his head. He's a very emotional player, and I think if he can solve that problem, he will become the best player in the world on the offlane position. But it is very hard to fix that attitude because, it's a habit. Fixing habits is super hard, and
It's who you are, right?
yeah, exactly. It's like changing your whole personality is very, very hard. If you can actually succeed to do that, then you deserve to be a TI champion.
Okay, we're going to get more from all three of you in just a moment. One of the other parts of the EG puzzle is the glue that fits them together. The $2 million winning captain, of course. Sometimes Salt King, sometimes legendary leader. He is PPD.
I was born and raised in Fort Wayne, Indiana, alongside my 2 brothers and my mom and dad. I remember getting N64 for Christmas. I played like Sega and stuff before that, but N64 is where it like really got real for me. Our babysitter was this girl down the street, and she was actually like the best Mario 64 player, so she would always come over and watch us play, and then when we couldn't figure it out, we would beg her to help us, and she would show us how it's done. My brother and I were like ultra competitive. I remember busting my cheek open, showing my grandma how fast I could run. I got 9 stitches for that.
He comes off maybe a little salty, but he's, I don't know, like you go out and have a drink with him, he's very relaxed, he's very cool.
He actually got like a portrait that's made out of salt. Someone was like, why do you have a portrait of yourself on your wall? And he's like, oh dude, it's made out of salt, that's why I have it.
I was a part of like a bunch of cliques in high school because I was like this closet nerd who like played, varsity football and varsity soccer. And then I had like my video game friends. Those guys I played like online games with all the time. And if I didn't have practice, we're going over to somebody's house and playing Super Smash for 3 hours right after school. My parents like hated it. They tried to, put like time limits on, like, oh, you can play an hour a day or 2 hours a day. That wasn't enough for me. Like, you can't put a limit on how much I wanted to play. And I would go over to my friend's house and I would say like, oh, we're not playing video games, we're playing outside. And they knew I was lying, for sure. Video games were great for me in terms of like fueling my competitive spirit. I was used to playing against just my friends, and I was like, yeah, I'm pretty good. But when you play online, you realize how much better other people are out there. I started to play like on my own in like in-house leagues with like people who took the game a lot more seriously, and eventually somebody asked me to join a team. Our first big win for Dota was when we were still not officially EG. We were playing under the team tag of Sad Boys. And we went into this tournament and I don't think we dropped a single map. And at that point I knew that our team was good. And it was $8,000, $9,000 a player. So it was very cool to take that back to my parents and be like, this is what I'm doing. They just couldn't believe that I would get paid that much to play video games.
He's had to learn some, hard lessons in the last couple of years. And I think he's also changed as a person and as a captain.
I would say the lowest point was like right when Arteezy and Zai left. Especially Zai, like that was someone I'd been playing with for a significant amount of time that I thought like really like believed in me and trusted me. I had like feelings of being betrayed, and that sucks.
In life, there's always things that kind of come up that you just have to deal with. He was pretty good about how he dealt with it. He just kind of took the blow and just moved on with it.
By like them leaving and showing how much that I was like making mistakes or how they felt I was treating them, I think that kind of made me mature as a person and be like more open to criticism, open to somebody else's point of view or their ideas.
It's hard to get people to commit to things, to commit to ideas. he's somebody that forced people to commit to doing things. He would commit himself by putting himself out there first. And that was something that the scene had lacked for a very long time. He drove people towards a goal.
Winning TI5 was pretty surreal. I just felt this like overwhelming feeling of pride. The VIP fans are up there with us, and like my parents and cameras, and we're like exhausted and super tired, but we're like, we did it, we accomplished our goal, we won TI.
Evil Geniuses has been the most consistent placing team in Dota 2 the past 2 years. And I think a lot of that can be attributed to Peter's leadership ability. The ability to like rally people behind you and get results out of it.
I just want to win, and so I'm going to push myself and my teammates as far as I can to get there. I am incredibly grateful for esports in general because it's given me an opportunity to do something with my life that I may not have been able to do otherwise. I've been able to travel the world, playing video games, meeting new people, and it's hard to say that I could have done that doing something else. We won TI last year, and hopefully we can bring it back home again this year.
Fantastic stuff again, the yellow lane from PPD, and it's a great story from humble beginnings to a multi-millionaire.
Unbelievable. One of the top 3 captains in the history of our game, I think. Since just over 2 years ago, when PP took over captaincy of Evil Geniuses, they have played in 38 Pro Dota 2 events. They have finished top 4 in 32 of those events. They have about an 80% win rate in lower bracket elimination matches. They have finished in the lowest possible position only 1 time out of 38 events.
And that was Charlie's fault.
It was.
We already blamed Charlie.
Clearly, they lost to Vega at ESL 1 New York. That's obviously Charlie.
You're also giving these guys a bit of help here, Nahaz, I have to say, because the prediction game is not going well for these two.
Right? Stats don't lie, Paul.
Stats never lie. Stats never lie. What do you make of PPD? He is the gel, isn't he? He keeps them all together. It doesn't matter which players they're playing and which ones are swapping in and out. He's the one that brings it together.
He's the guy Mineski needs. Someone to bring everything together, like what Black mentioned. Like everyone talking is nice, but having one guy telling everyone, like this is what I want to do, works much better most of the time.
And his drafts are pretty much on point, aren't they? We watched it through TI last year. We were wondering how they would match up against CDEC in that upper bracket final. And he kind of used all of his knowledge and experience to kind of dupe them a little bit into baiting out some picks. And he does that time and again.
I think that was the strongest part of the old EG. If they drop to loser bracket, they become that much scary, and every game they win in the loser bracket makes them like evolve, like like a mutant that comes from like another planet, suddenly becomes like this super beast that you can't beat anymore. And CDC at that point has been unbeaten. They beat EG 2-0 as well. They dropped down, and then grand final, easy.
Yeah, that was because no one realized they were banning Lash even when they were first picked.
Yeah.
So it means that they don't play the hero.
Yeah, and PPD figured that out before anyone else had figured that out as well, despite the fact they'd had that long run.
Well, they also figured out the clockwork vision, and they figured out the fact that they picked the gyrocopter against that team, and that's going to get something done.
Yeah. In terms of the matchup between the two teams, where do you see it going, Alan? Is it the mid? Is that the most important matchup, or is it the role of the supports? What is it?
I think it's the mid matchup, but it's a little bit deceptive because I think the key for the game is how Vici are going to play around their mid. They won Star Ladder with their coach Mikasa playing as a stand-in. He lost lanes in that tournament hard, but the way that they played around him in the mid game, particularly on his Queen of Pain, they were able to make up those deficits. And it's just like afterward, they have gone back to playing the way that they played before that tournament. They haven't made any of those same adjustments. They need to make them here.
Yeah, is the Star Ladder thing a flash in the pan? I mean, you've played with Vici before. You understand their mentality. Why would they do the things that Alan's saying?
I mean, the only reasonable explanation is that maybe Nono in-game can't do what Mikasa did. Because obviously Mikasa is the coach and one of the most accomplished coaches as well. He was coaching Newbie when they won TI, and maybe his in-game knowledge is like makes him do many more things for the team. And Nono is more like he likes to do a lot of things solo, meaning that he is most likely not gonna call for what Mikasa called for. For example, Mikasa called for gangs. He called out that he needed help, and then it would just go middle, and they would kill him together. Right now, it's just Nono. He kind of dies on a lane, for example, and then he's just like, don't worry about me, I'll be able to come back. And I feel like he really needs to make those calls and involve his team with it, because as he already said, they went back all the way to how they were before, and it doesn't work for them. Ever since Starletter, they haven't managed to beat the big Chinese teams, and if they don't change, they won't be able to beat EG here.
So if this is one of those teams, Winter, we've had a little brief discussion off air over the last few days about coaches and the role that they've played here. It's a vital role. We've already said that. We've already agreed it. But the coaches aren't in the brews, right? They're not standing behind them. They're not on comms. Are Vici then one of those teams that would actually benefit from it massively by having Mikasa on the comms, calling things in-game in the booth?
I think definitely. Like Starletter, he showed if he was actually making the calls, but the mechanical skill is played by Nono, then it would be like perfect for the whole team. It would be great. They would be so scary, but you can't actually do that. So I think he has to do a lot of prep work with the team, tell them what they want to do. I think they need to make sure that they have a game plan, right, and follow everything to the script.
Disappointing, Alan, in the group stages, went 0 for 4 whilst EG went 3 for 5, and EG were disappointing as it was in the groups. But Vici, you've got to look at it and go, that's astonishingly poor.
Both of these teams, really, with serious questions to answer coming into this series. Vici Gaming Reborn, now that Complexity did win that game, they are the only winless team left in the tournament. They are dead last. They have like a 1.6 team KAD in the tournament, by far the lowest GPM, lowest XPM. On the other hand, EG, this is where we were talking about earlier, they make those adjustments. They actually got weaker as the group stages went on. They lost 2 straight games with Timbersaw at the end. Their last match against MVP Phoenix, they called GG just after 17:30. That was their quickest GG in a loss in about 4 months since they lost to eHome at MDL. They really need to right the ship quickly.
How did they do it, Winter?
I don't know, like the team is like, it doesn't feel like they are working very well as a unit. That's like they don't gel for some reason. Even though I'm not saying Boba is like an inferior offlaner to Universe, but it seems like he's not gelling because of the mentality part. I'm not sure, or because of his play style. But he was the coach for the team though, so I'm very surprised that he doesn't gel that well with the team. But it has to be something with the dynamics, or maybe like what Black mentioned, his mental part, like the way he thinks in the game.
Yeah. In terms of highlighting specific players, we haven't talked about Sumail at all just yet. He is supposed to be the star in this team after Arteezy's moved on and sort of take on the mantle as the star player in the team. Had a fabulous international and was one of the stars of TI5. Well, why has he been so quiet, do you think, recently?
I was just going to mention him, and I actually think the reason why EG did well in the games they did well was all on Sumail. He actually carried EG so hard, and I feel the rest of the team really underperformed. And if they show up now and Sumail plays like he played before, I think they will be in a very, very good position.
Statistically, though, he's not been doing particularly well in the house, has he?
He certainly hasn't looked like the same player that won TI5. He's gone through a bit of a transition, right? Because we're coming off a meta in 6.86 where mid was so vulnerable, where every team was just all-in ganking mid with 3 heroes, right? We're in a meta now where the mid with raindrops, various other things, have a few more tools to deal with those early ganks, but EG, much like VGR we're talking about, they haven't yet found that right tempo to play around Sumail in the mid game. He's usually still ahead after the laning phase, but they're not able to leverage that lead like they once were.
Yeah, I agree. It's mostly the team's issue. Like Sumail has been performing well, but it's just like the team needs to get everything together for the whole puzzle to work.
Yeah. Do you feel like it's a bit like OG when they suddenly remembered that they had a 9k MMR player playing with them and they just went, do you know what, we should just play around him? Because that's what's happened, right? That's what's happened to OG in the last few months. They've suddenly gone, hey, we do have this star player, right? And then it works. Do EG not have a similar pattern here?
Well, I think they need to figure out how to use the other people, like the other players, much better. They do know how to use Sumail, but it's the other parts that are not working together. So I think they need to focus on the AoE part, the carry and the offlane, and how they roam and how they help their offlaners and the safe laners.
Okay, we are into the draft, so let's show you that right now. There have been 4 bans, and we're about to have the first pick. Elk Batrider EG, I mean, it's not meta, but it's what we've come to expect from them, Alan, in terms of they ban heroes they know the other team don't want to,
no.
They don't want to have.
Don't go to me, because I want to go to this guy. Winter is probably, he's the best I've seen in terms of telling me, after the first 2 bans, what a team wants to do. You feel those are very indicative about the drafts. The Alchemist Batrider ban into the Darkseer, what does that tell you right now about EG?
Sometimes there's a reason, but sometimes it's just like what Paul mentioned. Certain teams you play against, like Vici, they like to pick Batrider a lot. Right. So you're just merely banning out heroes that they use a lot. They're very comfortable. And I mean, Alchemist is a hero that most of the Chinese teams are really, really good at. And high ground defense.
But you leave them their Doom Lion open. You leave them. A few of the Chinese teams have been opening Enchanter's Tide, which we had a back and forth about earlier.
That
We're
was
not sure
Wings.
what it is.
That was Wings. Yeah.
Okay, this is also very standard. The Doom Lion open, along with the Lifestealer 5-position support open, very standard among in the Chinese meta. And again, their EG is going to come right back with the Bane to counter the Lifestealer.
It's like a reaction. You pick Darkseer, and for Vici, they see the Darkseer, they're going to pick a support that's very good at picking off the Darkseer with the Glimpse, and then they're picking a carry, which can self-sustain in the lane against the Darkseer because you have feats as a Lifesteal. So you're not that worried about the Iron Shell spam. And like you mentioned, they pick Bane because Bane is really good versus Lifesteal. It's all a reaction towards what the opponent is picking.
Or if Purge was here, he'd be saying this is a purple draft.
High-level analysis.
Yeah.
Black, what do you think, man?
I don't know, obviously, if Lifestealer gets a slow on Darkseer, usually it just searches away. Now we have the Disruptor to counterplay that. It's just it can be a really easy first blood for them. And if Darkseer has a really bad laning phase, then they can't put any pressure on the safe lane anymore. And it gives the Disruptor and maybe the second support that they're going to pick as well all the freedom in the world to help their middle player and hopefully make it work for them.
These two picks also make Darkseer and Lifestealer the top 2 picks at the Manila Major, clearly above everything else right now.
I think Darkseer just a really stable offlaner that a lot of teams are going to go back to in a lot of different metas. We saw him make a comeback at TI5, actually, during that tournament. Lifestealer, of course, the level 1 Infestor a lot of people talked about, but meanwhile, in 687, his strength gain got buffed.
Right. As well as the Armlet. Armlet also received a really big buff, and it's one of the core tools Lifestealer has.
I do also want to mention, Alan, because I find this fascinating. We've got you on the panel. 4 of the 5 top picks so far in Manila Major have sub 40% win rates.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary.
It's when you look at how wide open the meta is and how capable a lot of these top teams in the tournament especially are at innovating, the safety picks are not doing well. They're getting heavily countered. Lifestealer among. I'm really worried about this because
Lifestealer's 60% out of those. He's the only one who has a 50 plus in the top 5.
But we've seen him get punished in lane against Darkseers in this tournament already. You can have Rage on, but Ion Shell has a much longer duration.
The biggest thing about Lifestealer, though, you pick counters to him, but Lifestealer always has a free initiation tool in form of his mid laner or whatever hero is going to have the blink initiation. Then you can pop out and kill the counter right away, and I think that makes him one of the most uncounterable heroes in the game.
Yeah, but you don't want to do single core Lifestealer like what our friend Charlie has to say. Single core Lifestealer.
Don't tilt Charlie, he's not even here right now.
Usually you have like a quad with it, someone that can also really burst. Like you need damage with the Lifestealer, but
Ricky?
Yeah, that's what MVP showed.
So many games we saw Ricky Lifestealer.
Yeah. But look at the puck ban. That's exactly what you guys were saying, right? They're going to ban out that middle mode. So I expect Vici Gaming Reborn might go back for the Queen of Pain here, maybe in the next 2 picks.
Yeah, we've also seen the Lycan Doom ban as well from Vici. The Doom ban's a little odd because we haven't seen a huge amount of Doom recently.
It's to protect their Lifestealer.
It's to protect the Lifestealer, and Darkseer plus Doom together work really, really well in pressuring the safe lane. Sure, you can glimpse one away, but if the other is still chasing you around, then you won't get much done.
Yeah, the other thing I like about this Bane pick is that if they do go for the Ricky, you have an option. You have a hero that can sort of dual mid, but they're going to go back in the other position for the Phoenix, and this is something that they featured at Star Ladder, and they play this hero so incredibly well.
Yeah, I just want to point out 20 played, 20 picks so far in this tournament, only 5 wins on the Phoenix.
That's
astonishing.
Merlini and I actually had a back and forth before this tournament. I believe he picked Phoenix as his highest win rate hero for the competing predictions, and I just said it's an amazing hero, Sunray, good hero.
Yeah.
But a lot of teams that pick this hero aren't running it properly.
No, and not only that, at Epicenter, when it kind of first really blossomed as a hero that everyone would want to go on, no one had any answers to it. Everyone has answers to it now. There's been several different ways of dealing with it.
Spike Carapace.
Yeah, absolutely. And they've all dealt with it very easily. So it's sort of fallen out. And we saw Na'Vi picking it earlier. They lost with it. Now we see Vici. It was almost like they're a little bit behind the meta.
But it really feels like all these top heroes, like they always get figured out, and then they still get picked a lot because it's everybody's comfort zone. Right. But then it just loses because you counter them.
We've reached the point, right, where one of the limiting factors, teams only have so many hours to scrim.
I mean, it's not only that, it's like you get better at playing against the hero because the hero has been picked so
I'll tell you what,
times.
when we're talking about win rates and so on, bring up the DP right now, because 72%
should be really high,
win
right?
rate.
Yeah,
it's 72%. So
And again, part of this hero's problem in the previous patch, where she had some issues, was mid was so vulnerable. You now, with those raindrops, with scans, you have so many more tools to deal with that early aggression toward your mid laner.
It's also the new build that players have been going.
Because of the last patch as well, which made it magic damage instead of pure.
Yeah.
Like everybody thought it's like instantly it's like a nerf, but then people, smart people like Eternal Envy, just figured out, well, it's magic damage, just build a whale, makes the hero really tanky, what he lacks anyway, naturally.
Yeah, I mean, that build makes it almost unkillable. In fact, we
does.
saw it. It was almost
we
identical
saw it
build
now,
in the last game, yeah.
Careful, though. It's still vulnerable to burst. And Vici
It
is
is.
a little limited in their options. But Lifestealer can develop that physical burst if he has a good early game.
Right.
Yep, that's why you guys were talking about the Queen, which would be really good against the DP.
DK.
But they're going
So
for
DK.
Again, another low win rate hero.
A very
popular
solid.
pick right
It's
now
a solid
as well.
hero in the mid lane, but
I would have liked the Queen much better.
I think they needed
here.
burst. Yeah, I think they needed severe burst against the
Like,
DP.
you have to co-op, you jump the DP, you go all out on her, and suddenly the whole DPS will drop by a huge margin.
We've seen a lot of this matchup already, just because I think it's like mutually assured destruction in the mid lane, that if either team gets a gank on the enemy mid, you're very likely to be able to take that tier 1 tower outright. But EG are going to come back with the jug. I actually really like this strat by EG. It's an early pressure strat. Vici Gaming Reborn, they've had problems with their mid-game execution. This is a lineup that's going to be able to punish those mid-game mistakes.
And we see Jug Death Prophet again, one of the best pushing combos in the whole game.
Good at killing the egg as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's been coming out in phase 2 drafts.
Yeah.
Do you see this pushing on through the meta coming out as a phase 1?
Picking those two heroes phase 1.
It kind of tells the enemy that what you're going to do straight away.
Right.
So you don't want to do that, but at the same time, if you keep picking it, and they're both plus 55 win rate right now.
Right.
So if that keeps happening, more teams are going to then start thinking, well, we'll ban it phase 2 then. So you don't get it anymore.
Yeah, I think it will get started banned, but I don't think teams will ever want to first phase it, because there's actually a lot of ways to play around it.
Yeah.
But when you have already 3 heroes picked, then it's obviously a lot harder to counter.
I think she has a very high win rate, has a very huge reason with teams picking her in a very specific situation. So you allow the hero to, excel, like what Call did earlier, Oracle DP. So it was so easy for the DP to play.
I think what EG needs right now is another hero that goes hand in hand with the Darkseer to pressure the off lane. Because if the Naix doesn't get farmed, okay, there we go, the X, yeah. If the Naix doesn't get farmed, they do not have enough burst damage with the decay pickup to kill the DP.
And you want to talk about 3-4 synergy. I have seen them play this combo before.
Right.
I'm not sure if it was an official, but I've seen Sam and Fearx play around with the Bulba Axe combo. Fear very, very comfortable on this Axe. They'll bully this offlane. Lifestealer, I think, is going to get bullied in lane here.
Yeah, they got a lot of magic piercing disable, like magic immunity piercing, the grip and the call from the axe. So Lifestealer is going to have a very tough time in team fights. He's going to most likely get controlled a lot. He needs his team to help him out.
Slaughter. What was Slaughter off lane?
They're trying
Slaughter.
they're trying to make the DP much more vulnerable towards the Lifestealer, so they're taking more minus armor because they don't have burst damage. So they're all in relying on this Lifestealer to kill the DP.
Okay, very, very quickly, because I need predictions from you in one word. Alan.
EG.
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 3 out of 3 for Evil Geniuses. Let's find out whether they're right as we head back to our commentary team of LD and Gods.
Thank you, Paul. That's right. We're live here in Manila at the Mall of Asia Arena. The crowd is ready. They're excited. It's EG taking on VGR Gods. Thoughts on the draft?
Very physical damage heavy VGR draft. You've got the Slaughter amplifying up the DK, the Lifestealer. They can push, take Roshan, take objectives. EG, though, very strong lanes. Darkseer Axe sounds pretty scary to deal with as a Lifestealer.
It feels like pretty safe, stable drafts for these teams. We've seen some crazy all-in strats so far this tournament, but these teams want to beat each other in more of a straight-up match. And with that, we're ready to hop into the game.
Evil Geniuses versus Vici Gaming Reborn.
And there you have it, folks. We're live now. Elimination match, our second to last of the day. Only Secret versus Empire still to come. Will the boys in blue survive to fight another day, or will VGR cut them off at the knees, Gods, and send them packing early in the Manila Major?
It's crazy to think some of the teams that could be getting eliminated just on day one. Talking about EG, Secret potentially, VGR. Empire, maybe one of the teams people didn't expect a whole lot of, but they've been playing some good Dota, and 4 teams going home just here today.
Yeah, and you even have teams coming into this tournament like Wings, who many considered a big favorite based on recent performances to go deep in the event, also getting knocked out very early. So anything can happen at bo1s. It is absolutely chaotic. And with that, teams heading out to their lanes now, so we are going to see EG protecting their jungle. It will be a 4-position Axe here. Definitely less common way to run the hero. Do you think it fits this game?
I think it's all right. He's got the blood vial ready to go. Turn that. Oh yeah, that looks good.
Electric blue, electrified.
Whew. Trying to throw off his opponents.
I'm still waiting for the blood red. I think a lot of the folks at home are, but
in
top
trouble.
rune, Boba gets caged. They found the cone head and they want to beat him down. VGR working on him. There's the DK stun. This looks to be the first blood. One more swipe. DDC gets it, and VGR come out swinging, grabbing the first blood there on the Darkseer.
Oh, Boba.
Not the way you're looking to start the game if you're EG.
No, not at all. He thought he was maybe up against just 1 or 2 heroes there and could contest the rune, but finds himself giving up a lot. But back in the mid lane, problem is DK now has level 1 Dragon Tail. This is the...
Oh, they're going to punish. Even if he doesn't go down here, lane is basically over with that. Has to commit the salve already. He's gone for the early Quelling Blade, which we've seen a lot of the mid-melee heroes do, gods, but with that harassment and with the level 1 Dragon Tail, going to be very tough as EG is catching the tail end of that, bring down the Slardar bottom, so they strike back, and with that, as well as the movement mid, they may have just completely turned the laning stage right back around.
Yeah, this mid lane's really bad because DK didn't get the bounty rune, doesn't have breathe fire, didn't get the first blood. Like, none of these 3 things go his way, and suddenly he's found himself in a very tough 1v1 matchup against Sumail, but we'll see how things turn around. He'll get a few levels here, be forced to ferry out additional regen just to kind of maintain himself in this lane.
There's the crush from Yang as he dukes it out with PPD, but one of the big things that Bane brings to the table is he can trade blows quite effectively with almost every offlaner. Doesn't really mind the harassment, has the good base stats, and has the regen from the Brain Sap. As again, they move on to No-No, just punishing this Dragon Knight mid. And this time, I think they're committing for the kill here, gods. No, sir, you're down. EG, get him again. Make it 2-1. This DK needs help.
With Battle Hunger, is just doing work here. Slardar dies again at bottom lane as well. EG are crushing the lanes. AUI and PPD getting their 2nd kill on an offlane Slardar. DK getting pressured time and time again. He has to get a TP back out to the lane. He's nowhere near a bottle pickup.
Clearly the lanes are not working. So what's the adjustment for VGR?
There's no easy adjustment to do right now. The supports can get together and perhaps rotate around a bit, but if you leave Lifestealer alone against Darkseer, Darkseer's going to get a ton of farm, pressure the lane. So you have to commit either both supports kind of to the top lane and just accept the DK may suffer, or like send one mid and just really try and salvage things. But I'm not even convinced like a disruptor going mid is going to help the DK that much. DK ideally wants solo XP as well as farm towards that bottle. He's just got to kind of slow down the pace here and not give up any more casualties.
Yeah, maybe just don't go for some of those CS that are at or past the river, as that's where the axes consistently come in and punish him. But on the back of that, Sumail, 12-6, not really that far ahead in the CS department with DK, but bottom again, moving forward here. EG trying to find pickoffs. They're going to force Yang back. It's only level 2 on the Slardar in the offlane, nearly 3 minutes in, does not have the Iron Talon.
Bane's already level 3.5, so this has been a very good safe lane for the EG duo. You get those kills, and as a support, suddenly you get a ton of XP. He's also got pool camps being channeled through, so PPD, one of those rare PPD getting farm kind of games.
Definitely an uncommon sight, but an enjoyable one here for EG, as that means a quick Fiend script, and with that, they might be able to kill the lifesteal in the early stages of this game where he normally would expect to be close to Immortal. So for now, VGR sticking to the tri-lane here. They do have 2 very level-dependent supports, the Phoenix and the Disruptor, and I think that's where, like you said, as much as it might suck to sacrifice the other lanes, they fully have no other choice. Yeah. PPD actually the leader in terms of experience right now. Overall leader, at least if that graph is to be believed, as they move onto Yang bottom. Brain Sap comes through, another kill. AUI and PPD teaming up again. Feels good for the EG fans and working beautifully so far.
The good old days again. Like you say, perhaps the way it feels right now. And The thing is, you get these kills in lane, that's where Fear's like, and Bulba are just like, okay, we can just jungle it up. We don't actually have to contest the lanes anymore.
And
but
Fear wants to dive
I
this.
say
This Dragon Knight is so vulnerable. There's the Battle Hunger, then the Spirit Siphon. This combo means the man hardly moves, but the Sunray comes in, using it offensively to drive Sumail back, and he'll succeed in doing so. They drop the kinetic field, but there's just not much follow-up damage here. Even DDC joining the fray, and EG calmly walking away thus far, but the glimpse comes out. It's into Nono. Dragon Tail there. The tower not assisting those. The Breathe Fire is on 2, and they're turning on Nono. The Spirit Siphon's going in 2v3. EG are winning the fight and bringing down this DK. No, not again. EG punish after punish, make it 5-1. As Fear looks to limp away, a swoop in from the Phoenix. They might get him a secondary Sunray. So much commitment just for a 4-position roaming axe, and Dragon Knight dying again. Brutal.
EG are just putting on the punish here in the early game lane stage. Four of the top 5 farmed heroes in this game are all on the EG side, coming out of the laning stage in terms of net worth. That is just a brutal desecration here in the laning stage.
Whew. Now, if you're VGR, this is where you gotta breathe, because the lanes are not looking so hot, but Lifestealer farming okay. Dragon Knight, more of a level-dependent mid than a farm-dependent one, at least at this stage. He will have the ultimate soon. Maybe they can try to transition to a push. We've seen a lot of the teams with Dragon Knight lately do rotate him to their safe lane and then try to take that tower early. But for the time being, it's EG applying the pressure. They go for a smoke here, and they're going to wrap around towards the top side of the map. PPD looking for that fast level 6, and they want to hunt down Yang, who is desperately playing catch-up in this lane.
And even the Axe, level 5, while supporting mid, roaming a lot. Yang thinks he's finally found a safer lane.
Yang.
Not the case.
Safety is nowhere to be found. He does get up the crush, though. Fear unable to find the call there, and still may end up going down. The Battle Hunger, an army of creeps just slaughters him, but hey, this is just going to be additional gold as Fear has found the stack.
AUI comes in mid as well to help with the push with Exodus, but needs to be careful because he's very low.
Great rotations from EG, applying pressure here, there, everywhere, and Sumail sees 4 heroes mid, just runs in on it. AUI will be the man caught, though. DDC, good glimpse back, and that is a key core going down. They desperately needed that experience.
Yeah, I like the rotation idea from AUI, but just kind of overextends at the tower. I think getting a bit overconfident because of Sumail's exorcism coming out.
Still, despite that, we're looking at a 2,500 gold lead, a 3,000 nearly experience lead for EG, and they haven't taken a tower yet.
Yeah,
we're only 7 minutes in.
This is going to be one of the most one-sided laning stages we've seen all tournament long, including the group stage.
bo1s, you don't have a good laning stage, you may be having a very quick trip home. Not over yet, though, as VGR. Looking towards the mid-game gods, obviously, they have some really good comeback potential here. They've got the Infest Bombs, courtesy of the Slardar Blink Dagger, the Dragon Knight who can take objectives like towers. But EG don't want to let it get to the mid-game. They're smoked again, and they're once more just prowling towards the VGR woods. They will scout out FY. Don't get the call, though. He's able to swoop away with the Icarus Dive just in time, narrowly avoiding death.
So does reveal AUI to be alone at bottom, but
has the Omni Slash and playing very pressured Dota. Normally, AUI a bit more of a passive farmer as far as safe laners go, but he's really been stepping up the aggression here in this game.
I think it's the biggest adjustment he's made since going back to the carry role. He's kind of gone away from those farming routes. He's playing a lot more aggressive fighting carries. The Lifestealer, perhaps one of his best heroes. The Jug, another hero he's had a lot of success in this tournament with. So we're seeing kind of new AUI come out with his return to Evil Geniuses. So far, at least in this best of 1, things looking very good for EG off of their aggressive play.
Phoenix grabbing the bounty rune top, then swooping away. Clever stuff from FY. Still only level 4, though, on the Phoenix, and we're now 8 minutes in, and that goes back to, PPD. He's hunting. Sees Yang. Backup's coming in the form of the old man from the south. The crush actually hits PPD.
They see the axe coming
Wall
down.
invis, but they get up to sleep. DDC's here. The Centaurs parading about. And they might even go back on to PPD. Gets glimpsed very far away from Yang, who manages to get that crush. Then the Sunray comes through. It's going to be 4 heroes streaming in. Is from the south. Also joining this will be the Dragon Knight. They get PPD, but to some extent, space created. That was a 4-hero kill.
And as soon as the TP start coming, Fear just like backs off like, okay, you're on your own. It's PPD. If you die by yourself, like that's okay as long as other people are farming elsewhere on the map. So.
And Sumail's just right-clicking the tower mid. Exorcism's still online. It's already down to a 3rd HP.
And Jug AUI gets the tier 1 bottom tower. So effectively, your PPD 5-position support for a tier 1 tower. Like, realistically, at least an even trade at worst, but I'd say even slightly favorable for EG.
As we hit the 9-minute mark here, EG have 4 heroes with 35 or more CS. As for VGR, barely 2, and DK only just there. They are getting drastically outfarmed. Like you said, just one of the most one-sided laning stages we have had in a very long time here at this event.
From here, VGR, they can look to kind of group up around some of their ulti cooldowns, like the Elder Dragon form, and find a pick-off, take objectives, but they'd much prefer to wait for something like the Static Storm to come online for Disruptor. Makes their teamfight that much stronger. But the longer they wait, the more EG are just going to get out of the map. EG are happy to kind of, you can see right on the, just looking at the minimap, 5 dots spread around, all farming somewhere different. Bulbous farming one jungle camp, PPD stacking somewhere else, Fear farming something else towards his blink, Sumail at mid, Jug at bottom. They are getting much more out of the map.
Yeah, and these are big items coming soon. The Axe Blink Dagger, considering how much Fear has moved around, it's not far off. Bulba's mech is very near, the Fiend's Grip about to come online. Even the Yasha for Juggernaut, a pretty big grab. These are items that could allow EG to completely snowball out of control. And we've yet to see VGR really make a move since that bounty rune at the 0-minute mark.
Maybe around the Lifesteal Armlet they can get aggressive, but without a great vehicle for him. Phoenix perhaps the vehicle? You dive in, you drop him off.
The Suicide Bomb Phoenix.
With a Supernova online that works, and we may see like the Tomb of Knowledge try and accelerate Phoenix's level 6, but
it's going to be tough, though. That's where Juggernaut has the Blade Fury, not going to care about Fire Spirit, just right-click that egg, and you've got 2 other pretty long-range heroes to bring it down. AUI off to a great start here, as we can see. And EG continuing to apply pressure. They do not want to give VGR room to breathe. They smoke, and they move immediately up the ramp, but there to reveal it, FY. The Spidey sense is online. He pings it out. He has successfully, for now at least, scouted up the gank, even if they manage to kill him. Saving the core in the mid.
They'll de-ward it, but not exactly the optimal outcome for EG, who will transition into some pressure up top, it seems.
EG don't even have another smoke available for purchase for 3 minutes. They blew through all of them. One more coming soon.
They're very split up here. They want to get this T1 mid tower, but with only 2 heroes in the mid lane, this is a risky play to go for. So yeah, they leave the tower.
Oh, they get the grip from around the trees onto End. He thought he was hidden, but he's not quite. And simultaneously in the mid lane, also action brewing. Sumail is going to go down, but there's the Infest back to safety. AUI trying to deny that creep, and End now forced to turn and run. There's an Omni Slash available. It's not enough to kill off End, though. He survives. He pops on the armlet. Oh, he's not able to get the secondary toggle, though. Does manage to buy that quarterstaff before going down, and while that was happening, Death Prophet also dying. Now the question is, who gets the bigger objective here? Tier 1 going to be slowly sieged by VGR mid, and simultaneously top, EG pushing that tower. But that tower is closer to dropping, so EG get the tower first. The pings come out from the Death Prophet. Looks like Sumail wants to fight.
Yeah, he should be TPing back mid to defend this one. The bigger kill, I'd say, on the Death Prophet, but EG again getting a tower, so they're the ones
and they get a blink
objectives.
now on the Axe.
Yeah, this Axe is going to become a big problem. With the Iron Shell, his damage output when he gets these calls off is just starting to really add up, and it just sets up that Culling Blade so well.
Their 4-position support for EG is ahead of the enemy offlaner, and it's not like the supports of EGR are farming especially well. This is still a big hill to climb for the Vici Gaming boys.
Supernova at least online for VGR. They've got to try and find some big team fights. Yang has managed to get very close to a Blink Dagger on Slaughter, though.
Rushing it really hard here. Boots, Iron Talon, straight Blink appears to be the build.
Died 4 times, but you just go dedicated jungle mode, you will reach that Blink Dagger, at least a respectable timing. Problem is a lot of VGR stacks in their jungle, but Axe is here to take these.
They already took a big triple stack earlier up near the top lane, and now Fear moving in deeper.
He sees this other stack as well. It's dangerous to go for this. He may call for some backup.
Well, Fear stealing stacks, but VGR looking to steal some kills while EG are unsuspecting. They get Sumail again. That's 2 deaths for him. He's still up there in net worth, but that's a lot of golden experience thrown back the way of VGR as the stack does completely drop. So EG still staying on top here, but it feels like we're starting to see those signs of life from VGR as they get the call here onto FY. He's got a slight swoop available, still holding the egg. EG are really diving for this. Fear not going to go for the Culling Blade there. Gets juked a bit as DDC TP's in, and that was dangerously close to EG getting punished for their dive, so they will back away.
FY canceled his Icarus dive. I don't think that was intentional. He kind of did a very short dive away, unless he was doing some next level bait, but
I thought he was going to like short dive and then immediately egg, but EG could have just backed away if he did that.
Nice defensive maneuvers either way from FY as he gets away, and EG instantly transition back into a mid push. I think they need to play more around Sumail. They've been leaving him a bit alone or having one hero back him up.
Slardar Blink is ready though. Does VGR want to fight? This tower is about to drop, so do they make their defense at the tier 2?
Again, EG just maintain control this game. They're the ones taking objective after objective, kind of the position Maneski were in last game, but it feels like EG not only taking objectives, but getting more farm out of the map simultaneously.
They're being more aggressive in their map control on the back of those objectives, I think, is the key here. As they begin their siege on the mid tier 2. VGR, do they really want to fight into an exorcism? It's still going for Sumail here. They've got some time. They debut the Blink and move forward. Once again, it's the Wonder Kid they want. Do they get him in time? He's low. He's not dead yet. He does end up falling. FY just drives on by. The Firebird falls. Never got off the egg. And meanwhile, Fear on the backside does drop as well. So VGR make it a 2-for-1. Could have almost been more if he'd gotten that Supernova off, but EG still bringing the tower nearly down. And that's right before a fresh round of items comes out. The mech now complete on Bulba, Sanjin Yacha up on AUI 2000. They are ramping up for that next level of aggression, guys.
I don't believe they knew about the Slardar Blink because that Infest Bomb completely destroyed the Death Prophet. Even with an instant Nightmare from PPD. PP got the Nightmare off, then Fiend script the Lifestealer to try and mitigate the damage output coming from the VGR initiation, but wasn't enough. They needed that extra bit of sustain that the mech would have given them. They knew about the Blink, perhaps they would have waited for that item pickup, but even so, it's still EG in a pretty good position here. They have to be very respectful of the damage that can come out from the Slardar Blink with the amp damage with the Lifestealer, and now we're going to see the Echo Saber come next for N, so his damage output just going to keep on increasing.
Yeah, worth mentioning, EG, they just bought another smoke. This is their last one for about 9 minutes. They have been chewing through these way more than they normally do. This is a much more aggressive side of EG compared to what we've seen thus far in the event.
Comes back, they've called PPD.
PPD out of position a bit, team nowhere in sight. It looks like they are going to sacrifice their captain. He goes down with the ship here. 7-9 at 16 minutes. Still only a 5-position Bane, not the biggest loss, but this could be bigger. The smoke slithering up towards top. Yang just hunting. This Jug could be in danger here. Are we going to see a Blade Fury TP? Owie playing it safe. Is there going to be a first hit bash? Oh, they don't get it. Doesn't actually have a point in it yet. So, minimal casualties overall for EG.
Yeah, EG, again, losing PPD is not the end of the world for them. It's the AUI kill that would have been the big turnaround for VGR. And VGR do get back some map control. They deward their jungle, deny some of that EG vision that's kind of plagued them. But it's still going to be EG just farming more of the map right now. They've got 4 cores effectively at this stage. With how much farm Fear's gotten out of the map, they're going to be transitioning really well into this mid game where VGR have 2 pretty underfarmed supports. I mean, for supports they're fine, but the Slardar himself as an offlaner isn't doing too well. So 3 heroes that aren't really transitioning well in terms of item progression.
And normally when you get the Slardar Blink, even if you don't farm, you get a lot of kills. But we haven't seen all that many. Partially just due to EG's good awareness, and since that debut of the Blink Dagger, they've mostly dodged his ganks.
Another Infest up in a couple of seconds, and it seems VGR really just want to keep taking the fights to EG. They're going to start chewing through their smokes, 2 back-to-back.
It's going to be 2 smokes crossing in the night. Who gets the jump? Yang aggressively moving up the ramp, but ready to reveal it as PPD. He's on the high ground. There's a Blake, a crush. He's a bit slow to react. They're going to lose the Bane off the bat, and Fear moves in, gets a good call. The wall is there. He drops the egg immediately. FY with the defensive maneuvers, but Yang off to the south, almost dead. One more auto tech will finish him, and now Sumail's going to turn back. Bulba just surging away on a sliver of HP. He does survive while Sumail chews through these backliners of VGR. A scattered chaotic fight as FY swooping into the pit, and then Sunrain up to the high ground, but Fear is going to find him, gives him the vision needed. Sumail finding a triple kill and looking for more. No, just wants to get out. TPs, makes it home. It's a 3-for-2 exchange. A win for EG, but not an overwhelming victory.
And the fight started really well for VGR. It wasn't until like Sumail comes in, slashes down the back lines. You can't fight into this Death Prophet Exorcism now that it's hit level 2. And
starting the fight by killing Bane is not the same as starting the fight by killing Death Prophet.
And that's the surprise Infest Bomb coming out. So after you've seen the Lifestealer come out, you're not really worried about him jumping on top of one of your core heroes. They got the amp damage onto the axe, but even Fear managed to just tank his way through that fight. So,
oh, it's VGR's turn to start popping smokes as they swing around. Are they going to consider a Roshan here? It looks like they will.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, using a smoke to commit to Roshan better than finding a pickoff or two. Even if it's just one pickoff on a core. Getting an Aegis allows you to take complete map control, assuming EG don't react in time, but without Exorcism, I think that's where VGR feel very confident in their ability to take this one.
Well, it was a 3 for 2 earlier, but if they get a Roche, it becomes a huge win for VGR as AUI starts to poke and prod, moves towards the pit. He gets off the spin here. He walks on to 3. The Aegis already down. That's grabbed by the Lifestealer. The last hit to the Dire, so a complete win so far. PPD going to drop. EG have come in a bit late to the pit. They do get a good back up onto the hill. Yang going to TP out. No. Fighting against Illusions. Decides to just TP, but he's in trouble here on top of the cliff. Really doesn't have an exit plan. FY swooping out, toggling the armlet, but again, EG keeping the vision up. Fear's in deep. Did find that secondary kill. Now the DK down, and chewing up some of these heroes. A 2 for 2 overall. EG do contest in the pit. They get 2 cores, and the Dragon Knight continues to die. He has had a really rough game.
Yeah, this poor DK. 3 deaths now, but he's been involved in a lot of the kills and assists recently, so he hasn't actually managed to kind of catch up and keep on par with Sumail in terms of overall net worth. But a great Aegis acquisition for VGR does set them up to kind of continue some aggression out of the Lifestealer Infest bombs.
And that's where Death Prophet does have an Achilles heel, and it's the cooldown on the ultimate.
Oh, yeah.
VGR, good shot calling there.
I mean, EG get in there in time, but it only goes like even because of the vacuum onto the high ground. If not for that Bulba vacuum, that fight would have been very VGR favored.
Oh boy.
And the Static Storm was also just slightly off. If you catch, perhaps, ideally you want to try to catch AUI in that one at the end of his Blade Fury, but just didn't quite happen.
Feels like Vision could become a big concern for EG. Now a Shadow Blade out for the Dragon Knight. No, actually bought a Blink there for a moment, so it looks like they were going to go for the double Blink Infest, but they opt for the Shadow Blade, puts an additional tax on the supports as he's going to debut it. Who's he start on? It's AUI, stuns him and looks to go in the mid lane. The Static Storm getting dropped as well, and they're going to burst him. He melts and trying to move forward for PPD. Sumail slowed down, chewed up. He might be spit out momentarily, and Fear tried to save the day, but the kinetic field catches them again. Swooping forward, FY looking for the finish here and working on Sumail, but it's just that damn Spirit Siphon. They can't kill him until they turn back and say, well, we'll take the bane instead. So it ends up being a 2 for nothing, and now Sumail, with the Exorcism even committed to that fight, forced to run away. And now the Glimpse. They find Sumail. He might drop again. This could be a huge coup d'etat for VGR. The Ghost still going. Can he turn it? Sumail's tanking. They return at the right moment. VGR can't finish him off. They've overextended. Now Bulba's coming back into the fight, and FY's got to try to heal his teammates up. He stands his ground. He swoops back in. He wants a piece of Sumail, but Sumail is not afraid, and Fear comes in. Chop number 1. Looking for a second dunk. Does Bulba hit the mana for Surge? He's close. He chops him too. EG punish the overextension of VGR and come roaring back.
Sumail hit.
Still EG leading this one by a lot.
Sumail hit the silence on Phoenix mid-dive and prevented the Supernova. He was trying to dive in and go for a Supernova play, and then he can't cancel the dive. He can't get the Supernova off. He comes back, and he's still silenced, so he just gets taken out. And once that Phoenix kind of is committed to that fight without a Supernova, VGR were in a lot of trouble, and EG allowed to continue to chase and find kill after kill.
That was a really key time for them as well, because now End has his Deso. If he has a Deso in that fight, they get 3-4 additional kills.
Sumail just surviving through so much on multiple occasions. First at the Tier 2 tower of VGR's at mid, then on the retreat when he got glimpsed back, and he survives again. It really has been VGR's undoing, just that little bit of burst damage that they're missing.
Yeah, well, they have the Deso now, so we'll have to see if that makes the difference here, but Sumail's managed to pick up a plate mail, up to another 1,000 gold. EG starts to work on a stack, closing in on a Battle Fury for AUI 2000. So it does seem like EG want to have that insurance policy should this go later. You drew a parallel to the Mineski game earlier, Gods, but Mineski itemized a little bit more for the mid game. Feels like EG are keeping their options open should this go late.
Yeah, that was one of Mineski's biggest downfalls, is despite having a good late game lineup, they never really built towards it. So we'll see AUI guarantee some late game farm as well as damage output with the Battle Fury pickup. Very good time on it to go with his SMY. He is the most farmed hero in the game, and for EG, I don't think they're going to be too worried about this game dragging out at this stage. Lifestealer hero who notoriously falls off quite poorly in the late game because of how easy he is to kite. when you look at things like Surge and Force Staffs on the side of EG.
Spirit Siphon, the ghost just chewing into you. Lifestealer has to be ahead, and he has to be bursting someone early in these fights.
And even like Omnislash, Lifestealer, one of his biggest weaknesses is to physical damage, so Omnislash is one of the more annoying spells to deal with as a Lifestealer.
Well, in good news for VGR, although they're down quite a bit of gold, that is largely due to the tower deficit here. So far, a 4-tower disadvantage, but they're going to look to make good on their own objectives as they move to the bottom lane. So Tier 1 there will be brought down by End. Still the other Tier 1 standing for EG, and it's allowed them to project force very deep into the VGR jungle as a result. We can see EG moving in, farming up camps, rotating towards that Tier 2 top.
Kind of going both ways for now, at least. Like, you see VGR getting into the enemy jungle, but rather than invade further or pressure the bottom lane, they actually decide to head exactly towards where EG are on the map to try and take a fight.
Big commitment here. They have a very scary team fight, gods. If EG get caught out, they could get wiped.
They need to burst this Death Prophet, but it's so hard. If Fear can counter-initiate with a Blink Call, the Lifestealer may just not be able to get the job done.
What great positioning. They're going to leave the Axe in front to scout up the gank. The ping comes through. They do. Oh, chunk him down. My God, he melts. But the Exorcism now comes out, and Sumail looks to re-engage. Fear out of the fight. Let's see if VGR stick around.
Very disciplined. VG, they disengage after getting the kill because they don't want to fight when Lifestealer doesn't have Rage up. So once they get the first kill, Rage is about to wear off. They back off, wait for their next Rage.
And now they're moving back in. No buyback here, so it is a power play for VGR. Looking for that follow-up till Exorcism forced out. And that's an even bigger win. Looked like maybe EG would get the counter kills, but VGR just forced them back by not dying immediately, and now they'll have another window where EG don't have their full team fight.
Yeah, they're going to go for this tier 1 tower at top, possibly even go for 2 towers if they're feeling extra confident with Exorcism down. VGR have managed to claw their way back a bit into this game, and it's pretty much come from this draft of this. They've got this really tanky front line, the Phoenix to back them up, and this great burst damage initiation out of the Infest. Something that's always going to be a big problem for EG to deal with. They've just got to tank up as much as possible, get that armor going. Sumail's got a plate mail, but it's going to come all across the board in terms of survivability. Even someone like Fear, he looked like paper there, and that's one of the problems with going for this 4-staff. It's a great item to kite Lifestealer around with, but if you're the one getting initiated, he died in 2 right clicks, it felt like.
Yeah, amp damage, and then you've got the Deso. So you're looking at like well over minus 22 armor there, and Lifestealer already hitting for over 200 a pop with armlet turned off.
And
so
Echo Saber means you get the insta double hit, so it's very, very hard to stay alive against this guy.
Looking overall at VGR's draft, they have some good like early to mid-game nuke damage from the Phoenix, a bit breathe fire, and then the Disruptor with his AoE combo, but going late, this is all physical damage from VGR, and it definitely feels like EG need to be building as much mitigation as possible, be that evasion, be it damage block, be it plus armor, or they're just going to melt.
Yeah, they need all your ACs, Vlads, whatever it may be, Shivers. Looks like the Sumail pickup, but they haven't got the ideal heroes to build those. I mean, Fear, if he can get a lot of farm, can go into some armor items, but even him may just be thinking, let's get something like a Blade Mail. Jug isn't really an ideal candidate to be picking up an Assault Crest, not by any means a traditional pickup for the hero.
Yeah, he's not all that tanky, and if he gets caught at the start of the fight, one crush, he's probably dead even with an AC. Or at least running and not giving the armor to his team. So EG instead, they go for a Diffusal Blade here. AUI closing in on that. They do take down the Tier 2 top. Still holding a significant tower advantage. They've brought down 5 overall. Only 2 taken by VGR, so a 3-tower edge thus far. But it just, the overall momentum of the game, gods, you can kind of sense that EG, they don't have the confidence they did the first 10 to 15, even 20 minutes where they were in the driver's seat, they were invading VGR's jungle, they were constantly finding ganks. Now they're a little bit more tentative about their movements.
And they can't afford to be playing too cautiously, because if you play too much on your side of the map or don't want to impose yourself, suddenly it's VGR taking another Roshan, and with an Aegis on Lifesteal, they can be incredibly aggressive, so EG need to be the ones kind of continuing to play with confidence, and it looks like...
Big smoke timing here. Roshan is up. A clean win by other team could really determine the course of this game. Who's going to get that initiation? PPD down in the river for now. You can see VGR, they sense something is awry. Top lane's pushing, and more importantly...
BKB on Dragon Knight, so that's a big item pickup to have for this fight. A lot of physical damage still with Jug and Death Prophet, but it could just mean not getting caught in like a vacuum wall when you initiate, for example. So,
but it is Dragon Knight, so he's already looking at 28 armor, and then if you toggle on the armlet, he's up to 33. So he's much more resistant to it than the likes of the Paper Axe with 11 armor to call his own.
VG just smoke and then fall back and hug their tier 2 tower. They are very scared of VGR right now.
VGR moving forward. It's Yang in front. He's usually been the initiator here. Has the Force Staff as well, and also a bit of extra catch range. Who gets the jump? There's the crush. It's a swing and a miss, and now they look for the turn, but an instant glimpse back of PPD. VGR, no. The jig is up. They need to disengage. No turning. Trying to fight this one out as Fear jumps onto him. The egg gets dropped in the midst of it all. The Omni Slash onto No. He needs a little bit of help to tank this thing. Nobody focusing the egg. The stun does come out. Sumail pushed forward into the middle of the enemy team. They're going to focus him down. Death Prophet dead. That's the damage for EG. They don't have a whole lot without it. Fear's falling to back the wall. It's up to Bulba to turn this, and gets purged and gets slowed, and AUI tries to hack, tries to bring him down, but that's a tanky zombie. He infests, he pops back out. The Blade Fury prevents the damage. Could have been an instant kill. Still Yang in pursuit, looking for more. They are going to grab the disruptors, the trade, but now PPD in a lot of trouble. Crushed down near the pit, surrounded, pounded, brought down.
Illusions.
2 for 3. The Illusions joining this one though, and working now on Yang. He takes some damage from this. It's an overall win for VGR. With the Exorcism even committed to that fight, but almost salvaged by Bulba.
What a amazing Static Storm, catching out Death Prophet as well as the Bulba Darkseer. Darkseer was running in to get his vacuum wall combo off, then got silenced. If VGR had actually fully burst him down during that silence, it would have been a horrifically one-sided fight in favor of VGR, but luckily for EG, they got the vacuum wall off when the silence wore off. It was still a lost fight for them, but could have been a whole lot worse. All of that off of a slightly missed blink initiation. The best thing for VGR though is that lifesteal did not pop out when they missed the blink crash. And also the blink crash on Bane is not really the ideal target. We've seen it before at the starts of fights, and that's where not dealing with someone like the Axe or Darkseer has really hurt VGR. But much better fight for them, and with 50 seconds without Exorcism, if they're fast, they could try to get into this Roshan pit before EG are ready to fight.
Yeah, still nowhere near an Octarine for Sumail. He did opt for the Shivas, trying to deal with this minus armor that VGR pump out. But it does mean a longer cooldown there in the Exorcism.
EG, they're going for a jump here.
Aggressive move forward, but the Static Storm once again planted. It's a 3-hero cross. Surprise! It's me, your end, EG, as he mauls them down. Bulba barely trying to get away. He won't make it. 3 have fallen, and they are completely routed. A bold maneuver up the hill. Completely shut down. Yang just silenced them.
Yang is one of those players, like he can have a terrible laning stage, but he is a teamfight specialist. He is so good with his initiations. 9 times out of 10, they'll just win you the team fight right there. Like a 3-hero crush, perfect, on point. VGR crush EG when they're fighting without Exorcism. They take a Roche.
And now they have the level 3 Elder Dragon form, which just gives them that extra bit of team fight potential, can really shut down the Juggen fights. What an engagement this was.
Yeah, I think EG just perhaps got a bit cocky when they thought the Phoenix was alone dewarding, but it was a great decision from the Slaughter and the Lifesteal Infested to stay on the high ground while they were dewarding. They didn't run into the ward and reveal their position, and EG, despite getting a decent wall vacuum off from Bulba, the fight was already lost after Slaughter hit that 3-hero crush.
And that was the fight that just tipped the game. All of a sudden, we're looking at probably over a 5,000 gold swing, and over more than that in experience. This is VGR's first lead of the entire game, gods. At 33 minutes in, they're starting to hit their stride. They're confident, pushing forward mid. As No swoops in, it's Fear going for the blink call. He does find DDC. They get the disruptor nice and early. No looks for the disengage. EG hunting for stragglers here. PPD creeps in. We'll see another TP out. No. Will they be able to catch him though? Nah, he's got the Aegis, he's got a BKB. They do get him once with the sleep. It's not going to be an easy kill, but the call is there. The sleep coming back on. He BKBs. Does he fight? He gets gripped as well. EG, some serious hate for No. They get him once. Do they get him a second time? Slardar's coming in. Backups on the way.
No detection.
EG moving forward. They look for the call. They do get No again. They will chop him down, and now they find a third. Onto the Slardar. Static Storm's there, but so too is the wall. Bulba Boba with the counterplay. Look for the egg. It's a great zoning egg. EG can't get to it to right click. They've got to run. Now it's End on the chase. They glimpse back Sumail. The kaboom comes out. FY jumping him again. The crushes from Yang. In and out he goes, but they have slept End. PPD keeping this lifestealer in check for now, but he gets his vengeance. And then they look for Sumail, dropping the kinetic field, laying into him with the Sunray. They want him again. Sumail down once more. That's 3. Make it 4. The Illusions fighting for all they're worth. The army of undead.
It was 5 LD. It was a buyback from Fear, thinking he could get back to the fight before it was going to be over. And VGR,
not even close. He goes to farm bottom.
EG just got a little overconfident. They knew they'd completely caught the DK out. Nono makes a huge mistake there in the river, getting caught on the retreat. He tries to pop his BKB. Didn't have any detection for the invis, but Fear got a great call off to get him out of it. But VGR held their ground once EG chased for more. They were ready to fight. That Slaughter lifestealer, like Fear's axe is just getting like killed in 2 or 3 right clicks every single time. The minus armor from the amp and now an assault crest on top of it with a desolator is just too much to handle.
All of a sudden, I think it's fair to ask the question, Gods, how do EG get back in this game? Every fight, VGR, they seem to just be getting the better team fight initiation, the better burst damage, pickoffs, often playing from an advantage. What do EG need to do to turn this?
They need to be the one getting the jump. They need to prioritize getting vision up, using their smokes to initiate favorable team fights, because every single time EG's chasing and they're giving vision to VGR, the fight seems to always start with a blink crush, and one hero on EG is being lost. Even in that 5v4 for EG, the fight started by VGR getting a kill, turning into a 4v4, and then taking the fight from there. The lifestealer is just proving to be too problematic, so getting 4 staffs up, Bulba they have 2 on Bulba as well as Sphere's axe, but the axe this axe was once one of the most fun heroes in the game. Now he's bottom 3.
Yeah,
that is,
Phoenix has long since surpassed him, and we've seen that egg start to have a really big impact in some of these fights. The tides have certainly turned for the boys in blue.
Yeah, I think AUI also really needs to get a Blink Dagger just so he can follow up the Blink initiation of either Fear or Bulba with an insta-Blink Omni Slash. That's where majority of his damage output can come from, but if he has to walk in, it just doesn't come fast enough.
Now on the smoke, VGR roaming deep behind enemy lines. Looks like they may try to set up a ward here at that bottom hill, hoping that somebody will come to the tower, but the wave is pushing only slowly, so EG not obligated to defend the bottom lane just yet. Instead, they hang out near their Ancients. They play keep away. The smoke will be for naught. But VGR, they can just go right back to farming. And speaking of follow-up burst damage, now we have a blink on End. So he's been kited in a couple of these fights, Gods. But now if someone's running from him and they're not doing damage, he will just be able to finish them off.
Yeah, this is a nice little pickup. Very cost-effective item for him to guarantee his damage output in these fights. We'll run into some kind of item slot limitations as things continue beyond this, but very likely we see his Echo Saber replaced by some kind of big tier 4 item. And EG.
Late enough, maybe you even replace the armlet as well.
A Manta switch out for AUI. He disassembles his SMY. This is good to get out of the open wounds.
And the amp damage.
And the amp damage. And make life a little bit harder for VGR to deal with him if they want to try and initiate, but by no means like a major upgrade in terms of his damage output or what he brings to a team fight. This is not going to solve EG's problems. What's going to solve their problems is just better initiation, better team fights.
Yeah, that's got to come from Bulba or Fear. Those are the 2 key players for that as they swing the Bane around from the north, but a scan reveals it for VGR. They know it's coming, and No moves in, looking for his vengeance on Sumail, who frantically backs up. PPD grips him from around the tree line. Quick crush, deleted. And then the tank gets dropped.
Egg.
Oh, that was a bold maneuver by FY.
Calypso.
That they get the glimpse on Sumail. That explains it. Lands the egg, gets the follow-up, then the Sunray, the static storm there as well. AUI barely making it out, but VGR on the hunt. They kill off the healing ward. They rush forward. A horde of angry heroes led by the Fishman. Onto Bulba, trapped in the cage. Will he be able to make it out? They stun him. They kill him. 3 down. Make it 4. AUI 2 has fallen. 1 buyback for EG. End is godlike, and EG's own end might be upon them.
What were we thinking doubting FY God? Like, FY knows what he's doing. He had a plan with that supernova.
What shot calling from VGR.
And they knew they had the ward behind the tower, so they have a guaranteed glimpse catch here. The vision from VGR is just catching EG by surprise time and time again, and what looked like a questionable egg at first turns into an amazing egg because they glimpse the key EG hero, the Death Prophet, back in, and suddenly EG, they've got to commit or they lose Sumail. Losing Sumail is losing, well, possibly Rack, but also fighting into the egg, also going to lose a team fight. So it was really a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. And suddenly VGR.
I mean, you say possibly Rax. It is guaranteed Rax. Death Prophet, no ultimate for 70 seconds here. VGR can push in all the lanes, get some deep wards down, and still have plenty of time before Sumail's even able to be a factor. At this point, I don't know what you do. They cannot keep Death Prophet alive in these fights.
It is so difficult. Like, no items in the world really solve Sumail's problems. If he ever gets blinked on by this Slatter with a Lifestealer inside, it's just game over for him.
And or even if he just gets blinked on by the Lifestealer, potentially he has to Ghost Scepter right away, if not die, and then the follow-up comes. So with the Basher now, End can even run him down on his own.
For EG, they really need Fear to be the one starting the fight off, but he's just getting, he's too squishy at this stage. Darkseer is not really a team fight initiator. He normally comes in middle of the fight as that counter puncher where it's like, okay, the opposing team is committed to this fight, there's a 4-hero vacuum wall available. You're never going to start the fight like at the very start with a vacuum wall unless your opponents are completely out of position, and that's where, ideal scenario, Fear in the front lines or even AUI, but Fear too squishy. AUI, if he gets stunned up, he may not be able to get off his Blade Fury or Omni Slash, so the teamfight execution is very difficult for EG at this point.
The double Frost Dragon strat now unveiled. VGR pulling out their secret tactics here in a knockout bo1 match. No has gotten absurdly tanky with this. And even more ways to kite the Jug, to shut him down in fights, to chase for additional kills. And it's just even harder for EG to actually burst someone at the start of the fight. None of these heroes are squishy anymore. Maybe the Slardar is a little bit vulnerable, but he's always getting the jump.
And once this Phoenix has an Aghanim Scepter, we're talking about core heroes like who are tanky, like Lifestealer, Dragonite, even Slider to some extent, who can get pulled into an egg to keep them alive.
FY is getting close to it. 600 gold away.
They'd love to start a fight with an FY kill.
Oh, can they? They get the Blink call. Backup coming in here from the Disruptor. FY fairly durable. That's not an easy Phoenix to bring down. Yang with a swing and a miss. A rare whiff there on the crush, but No moves in anyway. And Fear melts. End comes in late. The gem has now hit the deck, and they turn on to PPD. Beating away at him. They get off the bash. They get the kill. AUI 2000 gonna be next, but before he drops it, Sumail. 3 dead. Make it 4. It's gonna be a wipe, and End gets the rampage. VGR have finished EG, your TI5 champions. 4 of the players from that roster knocked out in the BO1s by Vici Gaming, who truly are reborn here at the Mall of Asia Arena. What a beating this was towards the end.
I think the scoreline says a lot here. End on the Lifestealer, 14, 1, and 19. His Lifestealer really showed up. This has been the player who has really delivered for this team from the carry role. He's been one of the biggest young superstar carry players from this scene in the recent months, and he has completely delivered here on the Lifestealer. VGR, they had a rocky early game laning stage, but their lineup, their draft, come mid-game time with these 3 tanky cores, the Slider initiation with the Infest, it was just too much to deal with.
From first place at TI5 to last place here at the Manila Major, that is a tough pill to swallow for EG. TI, perhaps something they have a shot to look forward to, but this is a rough one.
Yeah, I mean, this is a team that's gone through a lot. They have to start looking forward from here, but I mean, for VGR, they just played some great Dota from behind, and that's really, they were in a position where most teams would have just crumbled, but they didn't let it get to them, and considering that this is a team with a lot of youngsters, that's something really impressive to see VGR moving through in this tournament.
I mean, let's remember how the game began. They were down 5,000 gold. They had lost all map control. They were up against 4 cores with 2.5 barely farming. EG won the laning stage flat out, but that smoke into Roche, it felt like that was where things really started to click.
Yeah, after that, they fought also around the cooldown of Exorcism incredibly well. Anytime Sumail didn't have Exorcism, they were the smoke into a fight, taking Roshan, getting something done on the map, and that was partly EG's undoing.
Well, with that, FY's all smiles here as he walks past the English casters. We'll hand it back to the panel. Guys, what do you think of VGR?
Thanks very much, LD. Yes, an incredible game between 2 fabled teams, of course, and it's Vici Gaming Reborn, who are reborn. They go through to the next round at the expense of the TI5 champions, Evil Genius. Let's get the remarks and thoughts of our panel now. We'll start with Nahaz. It's a It's a phenomenal victory for VGR, coming off the back of a 0-4 group stage, but even more impressively, coming from behind in the game as well.
Yeah, this is a game that EG is playing EG Dota. When they're at their best, they're a team that is very controlled. They win by passive resource accumulation. They get favorable trades, and for the first 25 minutes of this match, they were doing exactly that. They were up about 5K in gold. They were tied 15 to 15 kills. Over the next 15 minutes, outkilled by VGR, 21-4. And over 17K in net worth. This is VGR playing like they did at StarLadder. Phenomenal mid-game execution.
So what's changed, Winter?
The team play, though. I don't think EG, like, in team fights...
Let's start at the beginning. The draft. In terms of the draft, did EG get outdrafted?
We all were in agreement that EG had the easier draft to execute, and we thought that they would come ahead with the early game with the Darkseer plus X, but they didn't actually even were that ahead. They were slightly ahead, but not as much as I would hope for with their lineup. And then in the team fights, their coordination was really, really bad. There wasn't once we saw a vacuum into X call, and for Vici, there were so many good coordinations with the Slada, the Phoenix. They both stun and disable, and he drops the egg, he protects the egg. Like, the team play was there for Vici, but the team play wasn't there for EG.
Okay, Black, do you agree it wasn't an outdraft? It was a comeback by VGR?
I think if anything, EG had a much better draft. And what really stood out for me was Darkseer died in a very weird way. First blood, he just ran in and died. And I think that really put a stop to their aggression on the offlane, because that means the Axe and Darkseer can't really pressure the Lifestealer anymore, which then resulted into the Lifestealer having complete free farm. They had to completely swap over the strategy, and I think that was ultimately what lost in the game.
But it also came at a huge cost, because the Dragon Knight, he actually took his stun to secure the first blood, which actually resulted in his lane getting, he was totally done in his lane.
I mean, that's partly why I've asked about the outdraft, because if you look at it on paper, that's a Slada, a Lifestealer, and a DK.
I mean, it was the fact that I understand where you're coming from, Paul. Like, they have very good heroes that are good in this meta, very strong mid-game, but they are actually very weak in the early game. That was why we all suspected that their early game would get crushed by EG, because EG had the much more aggressive laning phase.
Which it kind of did, but maybe just not enough.
Well, but that's what we're talking about, right, in the draft, that you have this just amazing, phenomenally talented, dynamic young player in Sumail, and he's going to win his lane. And he won his lane. They arguably won all three lanes,
He destroyed his lane.
I mean, look at this.
He did.
All three EG players with 35 CS extremely early in the game. But what they used to be able to do is jump on that Sumail early laning advantage and just leverage the hell out of it and take complete control of the game. They just never were able to do that. The net worth graph just plateaus.
And on top of that, they would not let go of the advantage. This game, it was just like all VGR at one point.
It's also the psychology part of the game. If you look closely at the game just now, Paul, like the Juggernaut played by RE 2000, he went for SNY, Facebook SNY. And after SNY, he went back for a Battle Fury. It shows you the psychology, oh, we're actually not winning anymore. I need to farm, which is not supposed to be what they're doing. So it's like a huge tell. There's something wrong with the team.
Is that a confidence thing? They got to a point where they think, yeah, we're doing all right. Oh, let's not go too far. Let's just make sure we're okay.
It's a confidence thing, I agree, but it's also the fact that the way they are playing, they are not sure what to do.
And they're not in sync with their ideas. Like, some players went for early game, mid game item aggressions, and then that's what AOI did.
But look at these fights. The most telling thing to me about this fight, Darkseer wall is off cooldown the entire time. And there's, I believe this is the engagement. We're on the tail end of the engagement. So there you go. There's the VAC wall, but they're very, very late in these fights. And I mean, you see Bulba in a couple of these different fights. He's getting kills with his wall illusions on the tail end. But that's also telling you how late those walls are coming in.
That's not supposed to happen. What's supposed to happen is the vacuum with the call. They had to do that. But every time like Fear is going in, he sees an opportunity, he jumps. And there's no coordination, and Bulba sees a good chance. I get a 3-man vacuum, 4-man vacuum, whatever, but the axe is not there to follow up. There was no communication.
What would be even easier though is even a vacuum silence, and it's really easy to pull off because the silence AoE is huge. They didn't even do that. It was just like, I'm going to use my spells, okay, then I use my spells next, and then I guess 5 seconds later I'll use my spells. There was just no coordination. Like, it just didn't seem like they were a team.
Once again there, I mean, the VAC wall combination, I mean, it's hitting a lot of heroes, you're getting a lot of those illusions, but it's happening toward the tail end of those fights.
So what do we think? Do we think lack of communication? Do we think lack of cohesion inside the booth? Do we think lack of...
I think it's got to be down to communication.
Is it distractions? Is it outside the booth? Is it stuff that's going on outside that we don't know about?
I mean, I think that's speculation, right?
But well, sure, I am speculating.
Yeah,
I'm trying to figure out how such a great team and a great set of players is just not playing the way that we were expecting them to play.
I mean, at the end of the day, the great teams, you can say this about all of them, the formula for winning is simple. And EG's formula for winning is really easy. They're going to outplay you in lanes, and then they're going to have enough of a lead going into the mid-game that they're going to leverage. They're going to at least play you even in these fights, and they're going to win the trades.
Yeah, but sometimes it's not what's happening in the game is the problem. It's what's happening outside the game, which we don't know. Like, what's causing the team to not work together?
Yeah,
that is the biggest question.
I mean, someone said to me, gave me a really good question actually when we were in the group stage, and they said, "Wow, Evil Geniuses, they're still playing well at Dota." This is a non-Dota friend. They're playing really well at Dota still. They're still doing well. I find that amazing after they won $6 million last year. Why would you carry on? And I thought, well, that's an interesting question from an outside observation, and it questions the motivation. But knowing Peter, you've got to think, no, he wants to win every tournament he goes to, and I know that he kind of builds that in the rest of his team, so it can't be that.
I've always felt that he's a captain that doesn't give up easily, but in this event, like
and then you have fear in the team as well. Who is someone who's renowned for never
Alan
giving
talked
up.
about it earlier. There was a game where they called GG at 17 minutes.
Yeah, that was the MVP game.
Yeah,
right?
that doesn't happen unless there's like some internal disagreement.
Issue.
There's like some internal disagreement. We don't know what it is, or what it might have been, or what's the cause of it, but it's definitely there, and it showed in this game. They had a really big lead, and they usually don't throw it away. And in this game, they were just like doing it over and over and over. They had like 3 tries, and 3 times they did the same mistakes.
Okay, let's talk a positive vibe from this, because it's come from Vici Gaming Reborn. MVP of the game.
I think you have to give it to ZYF, or End as he's going by in game these days. This was the other half of their winning formula at Starlighter. They had this great mid-game execution to overcome early. I mean, it's almost a strat for this team now. You lose the early game and you out-execute in the mid-game, but you just wait until ZYF or End can just get huge. And that's what he did in this game. I mean, he wasn't doing anything to the Death Prophet in their first couple of team fights, but all of a sudden, he's Lifestealer has Echo Saber, he's got Desolator, he's got AC and a Blink Dagger. They have multiple ways to get into fights, and the Death Prophet can't survive.
Well, he has M damage as well, don't forget that.
Exactly.
So his job was basically very easy when it comes mid-game. Yeah. Like, we were never worried about their mid-game at all. It was all about their early game. We were thinking they were so greedy. They were so greedy in the early game. Like, we don't think that they would be able to survive the early game onslaught from EG.
Okay, I have a serious question for all 3 of you. What are the teams doing to the panelists at this major? Because they're destroying your predictions. That's 3 out of 3 now on this panel today. You all went for EG. I think it's the safer bet, and yet VGR have won. So what is it?
I mean, we started draft.
Is it because the teams are so close now and you just can't pick between them?
It's you when you're trying to make these predictions, right? You're trying to tell a story of the game. And in order to tell that story of the game, you look at the way these teams have been playing and you look at what they've been doing. Yep. But a team like VGR, we know that they're capable of playing that way. But all of a sudden they go 2 months and they don't show it. Yeah. Now, on the big stage, in this arena in front of these fans.
Do you know what it is? They just needed a crowd. They just needed a crowd. Maybe that's something Sir Action Slacks can ask, because he is currently down on the main stage with FY.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've got FY. Congratulations on your series. Thank you so much for playing, and I can't believe you did it. You took out the TI5 champions EG. How you feeling, buddy?
你获得胜利之后，打败了 TI5 的冠军 EG， 现在感觉如何？
很开心吧，因为毕竟是我们这个比赛第一次赢吧。
Very happy. This is probably our first win in this tournament.
All right, well, you certainly earned it. It was a very close match, so question for you. When do you feel like that match turned around in your favor? What won you that match?
刚刚也是一场很紧凑的比赛，在比赛的某个点，或者你自己觉得在某一个时间点，是已经获得这场比赛胜利。
推完下路高地吧，他们的高地。
After we pushed their bot lane high ground.
Okay, very good. Now, I've been meaning to ask a pro player about this for a long time. I saw a lot of armlets coming out from you guys. Give me the lowdown on armlet. OP or OK?
他求解这个问题很久很久了，想问一下职业选手看法。他看到很多人买臂章这个物品，你对于臂章怎么看？是太过强呢，还是需要人手一把？
对于一些力量核心还是很厉害的吧。 就是比如说小狗这种英雄，我觉得这个版本 B 章还是要削一下，削弱一下。
I think that is very important for strength heroes such as Lifestealer. For this patch, I think we need to nerf it a little bit.
All right, I hope you're listening, Ice Frog. Pay attention here. Okay, last question for you. The next series is going to be either Newbie or DC. If you have to face off against Newbie again, you've done it before. Are you prepared to win and stay in the Manila Major? How are you going to do it?
你们下一个对手是 Newbie 或者 DC， 然后如果真的是 Newbie 的话，你们之前也有交过手，有没有做一些准备？有没有信心击败他们，继续留在这个比赛？
牛逼吗？我其实不太希望和牛逼交手，因为毕竟都是中国战队，然后我还是希望和 DC 交手。
I don't really want to play against Newbie because they're a Chinese team. I'd rather face DC.
Oh, okay. Nice answer to that question. All right, well, thank you so much for coming out. The crowd loves you. We can't wait to see some more of you guys. But for now, we'll shoot it back to the panel and get some more thoughts from them.
Thanks very much for Action Slacks. My face when the player says he'd rather face my team. That was Sir Action Slacks right now. There, of course, the sixth man for DC doesn't want to be going down to the lower bracket. We'll see that one tomorrow. It's very interesting that Vici have gone through. They could face Newbie, of course, but we've seen how powerful Newbie have been in it. Mostly, I would guess, most people would choose Newbie over DC, so that could be a matchup tomorrow. I want to end on a positive note because, you know, EG going out is a very sad affair. I'm genuinely sad to see them leave the tournament because I think we need the teams that have got the great players and the great stories and the great history in the major itself to see how they match up against the newer teams. But the bottom line is they are not performing well right now, and they got beaten by a very good team today.
That's not EG Dota. That's the bottom line. That team has not been doing the things that have made them the most successful team in Pro Dota 2 over the last 2 years. 5 straight $3 million tournaments, top three. They have a lot of questions to answer.
Yep. Winter, final thoughts on the game?
EG were they just didn't look like a team. It's not much to add.
Okay. Vici, positive from your point of view, having spent time with them and watching them play and win must be pleasing for you.
I'm really happy for them, as opposed to EG, they're actually showing up like they always have, or rather they have during their times of success, and I'm really happy for them. And yeah, I also hope they do not face Newbie because they didn't have a lot of success against Chinese teams. So, you know, we'll see how it goes tomorrow, but.
Okay, final thoughts, thank you very much. Thanks to all three of you. You're going to be back staying with us for the final game of the day as well. Our final game of the day will be coming up very shortly. It's a big one for the crowd as well. Got a sneaky feeling they might like this one. It's Team Empire versus Team Secret.
Next matchup, Team Empire versus Team Secret.